I'm Trent Palmer. I fly drones for a living and bush planes for fun. Follow along as I journey off the beaten path of aviation. What's up, guys? Now, I wanted to go ahead and do a follow-up video to my last video, which is where I had my catastrophic engine failure. And actually, this isn't the video I wanted to be uploading after that video. I actually went on this awesome camping trip up in Eastern Oregon with a bunch of my friends right after the engine out. And it was just such an awesome adventure. And it was one that was kind of like, you know, I was back on the horse, back at it. It was kind of like my little overcoming the hurdle video that I was so excited to share with you guys, and it was such a good time. We had 23 airplanes and a helicopter, and the funny part was one of the places that we ate at while we were up there was the Cowboy Dinner Tree, and it is up in Mahogany Mountain, right next to Mahogany Mountain Airstrip where we camped out that night. And to get into this place, this restaurant, it's like a 1 to 2 month wait. So we all had to put our reservations in way in advance. Obviously, I got mine in for a steak, which was huge. It was like a quarter of a cow. But it was so funny when I had my engine out, because there was a lot of guys that weren't able to get the reservations in time. I was in this text chain, everyone's like, well, I claimed Trent's steak, blah, blah, blah. And to me, you know, I'm like, over my dead body, I'll be there. I don't care if I lost my motor 2 days ago. I'm getting back in the plane and I'm going. So it was a really cool adventure, and I shot all of it, and it was just amazing, beautiful, fun adventure. One of those vlogs that I just haven't done in a while. So I was really excited to share it with you guys. And then of course, genius me somehow ended up formatting over all the memory cards without copying it to my computer first. Like, big time rookie mistake. I don't have a good excuse for that one. I don't even know how I ended up doing that. And of course, then I recorded over those cards, so any chance of trying to recover the data is just gone. So that's why I'm doing this video instead of that one. But I guess I can show you guys a couple photos. I took some photos on my phone from that, so I'll show those right now. But yeah, now since I've had a little more time to stew and reflect after the engine out, I just wanted to touch on a couple things that were at play. Again, it's one of those things, experience is a great teacher. Unfortunately, the lesson comes after the test. So I figure if something like this, if you guys can learn from my experience, even by just talking about it, it's worth bringing up. Now there's a couple things that were at play that I think were huge in helping me get on the ground safely and even keeping the plane in one piece. Now, before I go any farther than that, I should state, emergency landings are made to save lives, not airplanes. When the engine died, it was insurance's airplane. I did not care about that airplane. It just so happened I picked a spot that I figured my best chance of surviving also allowed me to keep the plane in one piece. But something I think everyone should keep in mind in the event of an engine failure or any other emergency that would cause a forced landing is an emergency landing is just to save lives, not to save airplanes. Do not worry about the airplane. In fact, use the airplane in any way you can to protect yourself so that you can walk out unscathed. Now, obviously, the other big thing that helped play a role in this is my experience in off-airport landings as well as engine-out procedures. Now, this was not the first time I have landed the Kit Fox with the engine completely turned off and stopped. Now, I know in our training we are taught to do simulated engine outs with the engine pulled back to idle. Now, I don't know if you've ever stood behind an idling airplane, but an idling airplane is still making a decent amount of thrust. Not enough to sustain flight, but a lot more than completely stopped.
If I come down here, that's a lot of thrust.
Now add to that, when your prop's stopped, the amount of drag it's adding. Go ahead and try sticking a 2x4 out of your car at 80 miles an hour and you'll see there's a good bit of drag. So I think the having practiced with the engine completely off and understanding how the airplane glides with the engine stopped helped me a lot in that scenario. Now this is something that I kind of tread lightly when I recommend that people should go try themselves and practice. If you're going to actually shut the engine off, I recommend getting an instructor on board, someone that's gonna be qualified and capable of handling it should you freeze or get a little scared or anything like that. And just to keep an eye on what's going on, making sure you're not getting too slow, you're not making any mistakes. And also do it somewhere where you have ample runway to land on, so you aren't trying to stretch your glide out farther than you should or trying to push it on the ground any sooner. Something that will allow you to get a feel for the airplane with the prop completely stopped. The other thing I think you'll find hard is actually getting the prop to stop because they windmill like pretty slow. I've had to get mine to stop. I'm getting pretty low in the speed arena and actually pretty close to stall speed just to get the prop to stop windmilling. Now the other big thing, I don't know that there's any way to be completely mentally prepared for an emergency like this. I think going through it in my head so many times ahead of time definitely helped, but I don't know that I was completely prepared. But there were a couple things that were radiating through my head. One of them was, fly now, be scared later. You'll have plenty of time to be scared once you're on the ground. So I tried to just say, sack up, Trent, fly the airplane like you know how to do. Get this thing on the ground. We'll be scared after that, but right now is the time to fly. The other thing too, and the biggest of all of them, is never stop flying your airplane. You know, to me, there's a differentiation between a crash landing and just a sheer crash. Crash landing being that you attempted to land. You were still maintaining control of your airplane. You were telling it where to go. Now, to me, a crash landing is acceptable. A crash is not really acceptable, guys. Come on. Keep control of your airplane. There's never an excuse to stop flying your airplane. And I know it's pretty easy to, under the heat of it, want to freeze or tense up or forget things, but just remember, fly now, be scared later. And you know, there's another saying that if you are to ever crash land or bend up an airplane, when the dust settles from that thing, you better be sitting in whatever's left of your airplane, kicking those rudders and jerking on the control stick like there's no tomorrow. Never stop flying your airplane. Never stop flying. That is the biggest thing. So that's something I recommend a lot of people kind of keep in your mind. If you ever end up in a scenario like that, it's kind of what helped me get through it. I knew what to do. I knew to keep flying the airplane. I knew to be scared later. And obviously all the practice I had in off-airport operations. I've gone out, I've landed with tailwinds, I've landed downhill. I just had never really done it when I wasn't expecting to land, and doing it with the engine off. But other than that, it was just a combination of a whole bunch of things that I'd already practiced, and I definitely attribute that to how I got it down safely and with zero damage to the airplane. Another thing I want to touch on is currency and proficiency. Now those are two different things. Being current in your aircraft for FAA standards is a lot different than being proficient. And proficiency is, I guess, a lot of the stuff that I practice. I have fun going out and preparing for engine out scenarios and preparing for landing in rough terrain. Whether I liked it or not, or knew it or not, I was training myself. All those times I've been landing on hilltops and landing in valleys, landing anywhere but a paved surface. That all paid off in leaps and bounds right there. So I would say me being proficient in that type of operation was super helpful. So anyone that hasn't yet, I highly suggest some mountain flying courses or some backcountry flying courses. I think the kind of sight pictures and the flying style that you learn in instruction like that can pay off in leaps and bounds when you have something like what I had, an engine out in the middle of nowhere. Now the second thing I'd like to touch on during this video is Oshkosh. I know I've gotten a lot of comments from you guys as to whether I will be attending Oshkosh or not, and the answer is yes, I will absolutely be at Oshkosh. I will be flying in the STOL demonstration over on the ultralight field. We fly every evening aside from Wednesday and Saturday night because they have the air show going on that night. So I think Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, I forget what time it is. I think it's around 6 or 7 p.m. over on the ultralight field during the Twilight Flight Fest. So if you want to come out, say hi, I'll be out flying there. You know, I probably won't be setting any records or winning any contests if there was a contest. I know it's a demonstration, not a contest, but I'm definitely not going to be the one taking off the shortest just because I am running that lower horsepower engine, and you know, I'm kind of being conservative as of lately. The other thing also, I will be planning on going and hanging out at the Kit Fox booth between 1 and 2 on, I think, Tuesday and Friday. So any of you guys that wanted to come meet me, I'd love to meet you guys. Come by and say hi. Again, that's between 1 and 2 on Tuesday and Friday at the Kit Fox aircraft booth. The other thing too, I will be flying with a group of the Flying Cowboys. We do a low and slow to Oshkosh every year, and we actually end up taking about 5 days of our lives just kind of slowly working our way across the country, flying low and seeing the sights and seeing the country in a way that no one ever does. So I'll try to do my best to document that. We normally end up kind of go to where I don't know that I'll have time to really sit down and edit any of it until I get to Oshkosh. But I'll make sure to document all of that, and any of you guys that are interested in following along on that trip out there, I highly suggest just go and follow me on Instagram, because I do the Instagram stories, and that's where I'm much more up to date on those because they don't take nearly as much time to edit. So if you're just looking for updates and all that, go follow me on Instagram. That's the best place to get those. Now lastly, I just want to touch on what's next motor-wise. Now the motor I have is an 1800 hour older 912 ULS. It's the 100 horse Rotax, and it has been in a wreck. It was starved of fuel, and I believe the plane went on its nose. Now it has been gone through pretty extensively, and I feel pretty confident that there's no issues with it since the motor wasn't even turning. but you know, it's not the most comforting thing. So I am trying to find a way into a new motor as quickly as possible. Now, Kit Fox Aircraft has been great in this whole ordeal, and they have been helping me try to work a deal on getting me a new motor now. Once we have any progress on that front as far as a new motor, I'll make sure to keep you guys posted. Now finally, I do want to give a big shout out to wingswap.com for helping support this video and getting me one step closer to that new engine. Wingswap.com is a website for buying and selling aircraft, and it was created by a buddy of mine, Jesse, who saw a void in the experience of both buying and selling through the online platforms that are out there. So he has designed a website that is absolutely free to use for both buyers and sellers, and it integrates into phones, tablets, computers. It's just a much more streamlined experience. So anyone that's looking at buying or selling an airplane, go check out wingswap.com. Again, it's backed by some good friends of mine that are all aviation enthusiasts. So yeah, go check that out. All right, and really quickly, I'll give you a sneak peek of what I've been working on and what the next video is gonna be about, but I don't know if you can see that tire is very shiny, and yeah, that's just my little sneak peek of what the next video is gonna be about. So anyway, guys, I hope you liked that one. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't, come be my wingman. We'll see you on the next one, peace.